Chit Chat is sponsored by Fun Again Games, where everyone is welcome at our table, and your source for hard-to-find imports, liquidation games, new releases, and much more. Be sure to visit funagain.com to check it out. On episode 84 of Chit Chat, we're giving our State of the Channel address. We'll share where the channel's at and some of the exciting directions it's headed. And of course, it wouldn't be Chit Chat if we didn't talk about games. Welcome back to Chit Chat. This is an OG Chit Chat happening right now.
Episode 84, back in the studio. And let me say, how kind of weird it feels to be back in the studio.
It is strange. I set these chairs up today, and I took a picture. If you're on our Discord, you probably saw the pictures I set up. It was really interesting to see these chairs again, knowing we were going to be sitting in them, doing a Chit Chat this way. And as I'm sure you are aware right now, this isn't live. But if you're watching it at the right time, there are comments going on. In fact, right at this very moment, I'm probably typing something ridiculous in the comments as we speak.
Oh, you should have timed that up.
I am.
Finish your sentence in the comments.
Yeah. No, but seriously, thank you for watching. This is episode 84. We wanted to use this opportunity to sort of give a state of the channel address, if you will. Not such anything formal like a State of the Union, but give you guys an idea of where the channel is, where we're going to be going, and then, of course, we've taken into account some of your feedback over the last couple weeks, and we're going to be talking about all the stuff we've been doing. Unfortunately for you, it is just me and Ryan here tonight. Jeremy Howard, A, he lives up in Milwaukee, but B, he had some other things going on tonight, so he couldn't be here. But we're going to be mixing up the format here. We're going to be doing some Chit Chats live.
Yep.
We're going to be doing some Chit Chats like this, maybe even having some other local people that might be popping up on the channel, joining us from time to time. And maybe even, if we're ambitious enough, a mixture where we do this and somehow have Jeremy
it'll be
Howard
cool.
in. We'll figure it out.
We've got some plans, and we'll talk about all those plans when we talk about the channel. But first, I know a lot of you tuned in last week where
a couple weeks ago,
last episode, where we decided to give away, or we had a generous offer from Suffolk Fair to give away a huge Jaws of the Lion prize package. So thank you for everyone that commented to enter to win that. But we have one lucky winner.
Drum roll.
And that is Omen. Omen with 2 N's. Your name should be up on the screen right now.
Yes.
Congratulations, Omen. You won that prize package. Please email us at manvsmeeple@gmail.com to get your prize. And today we are giving away another game. Unfortunately, we don't have another Jaws of the Lion, but we're giving away AEG's big game night package. For those who aren't aware, AEG does a huge game night every year at Gen Con. Of course, COVID and things like that, there hasn't been one, but they've supplemented that by kind of offering this games package, which is 2 games, 10 and Whirling Witchcraft, that are coming out around Gen Con time.
Yeah, and if you don't know anything about those games, shameless plug for our videos on our channel. We did preview for both of those, so if you want to check them out, there you go. And like Ryan said, comment below, comment live, whatever, and we will find a winner the next episode to win those games.
Yeah, so please join us. So, sorry to detract, but I know people have been excited about winning that Jaws of the Lion package.
Yes, congratulations, Omen. And you will have different games and different sorts of game packages to give away.
Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun to do that.
One of the many things we're going to be doing. So we wanted to start tonight by talking about sort of state of the channel. The channel has gone through some changes, as you may or may not know. We want to sort of pivot and do some things in the immediate future, do some other things in the further out future, but we wanted to give you a sense of where things stand. So, without any further ado, I want to talk to you a little bit about sort of who the core team is at this point at MVM. And that is the people you've basically seen on Chit Chat the last few episodes.
Right.
Me, Ryan, and Jeremy Howard up in Milwaukee. So that's going to be the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the content that you're going to see on the channel. We'll be hopefully having Jeremy on Chit Chat as much as we possibly can. I wish if you can all just send vibes to him to move to Indianapolis.
Right? Oh, he won't give.
That
Jeremy
would be
has
awesome.
a day job that he likes.
I know.
So
I know.
It's hard to give up that.
Maybe we should move to Milwaukee.
Right.
I don't know.
It's cold up there, I hear.
That's true.
But yeah, so you've probably seen a lot of content from the 3 of us popping up on the channel. That's not to say that that's where this channel is going to be.
Sure.
We don't want it to be just the 3 of us. We want diverse perspectives. We want some other views from people that maybe aren't part of the channel, popping in and giving their opinions on things and hanging out with us. So I guess what I'm saying is there will be other faces.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, as you know, on a few episodes of Chit Chat, when we relaunched Chit Chat, we had some guests come in. We are going to continue to have guests like that, particularly if we can have guests local. Not local guests, but people who are visiting town. Right. Potentially during Gen Con, maybe have some people on here that are a little bit more exciting than the two of us.
Hopefully we're exciting enough. People are watching right now.
That is true. We are exciting,
Everyone's turning off the video right now because you said that.
Yeah, you're right. You aren't exciting. Click.
Thanks for mentioning it.
But like Ryan said, we are also going to be having some new faces. We've been digging into our game groups, finding some people. Hopefully you'll see some of those faces on some of our upcoming content in the next couple weeks. And I'd like to think maybe having some of them on Chit Chat here as well.
Yeah, and of course we're always looking at the greater content community.
Yeah.
Finding people to kind of mentor new faces to collaborate with. And so there's definitely some collaborations planned that I can't talk about yet, but you will see some of that stuff coming up over the next, month or so on the channel, which I'm really excited about.
And collaborations bring up a good point, because one of the things, we haven't done a lot of that over the years, collaborate with other channels.
Not a ton.
And we've always liked the idea of doing that. I want to definitely do a lot more of that. Anything that we share tonight about the channel, where we're going, where we're headed, absolutely please feel free to comment below and say, whoa, no, that's crazy. Or that's awesome. Anywhere in between.
It's crazy, don't do it.
But just give us some feedback on what you'd like to see most, because really at the end of the day, if you're not watching and enjoying it, what are we doing?
I will say that I will put a little tease out there, because there's a question that people have been asking for 2 years now.
I'm as in the dark as everyone else right now.
We have talked to Gary about popping in every once in a while.
Oh, that's true.
People are always asking what happened to Gary. Gary just kind of vanished off everyone's radar. We've spoken to him. He is committing to come and talk and hang out with us sometime in the near future.
Yeah, and hopefully, Gary, you're watching, because now you've been put on the spot.
There's a timer now.
Everyone in our Discord is going to be all over you to be on there.
Right.
And that truly will be sort of an OG Chit Chat if we get Gary on here. That's been a while.
I'm feeling like a sense of nostalgia, even just sitting back in these chairs, remembering back to the very first episode of Chit Chat we ever did, which was quite a few years ago. So I guess this is as good a time of ever as any. Just I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's been watching. We didn't know how long this Chit Chat format was going to even go, or how many episodes we do. And we've been doing it for a few years now, and people seem to love it. And I'm really glad people love it. We want to keep doing these. We want to do some other formats like this. But I think that the original Chit Chat will always be kind of a staple.
Yeah, and another big thanks too, again, just want to get this out of the way. We've had various sponsors through the years, specifically for Chit Chat. I definitely want to thank our current sponsor, Fun Again, for sponsoring Chit Chat so that we can keep this going and keep making these for you. We've been a little hit or miss so far this year, but we definitely want to have Chit Chat back on a every other week sort of schedule for sure.
Now that we can kind of transition back into doing these, and it's not always just going to be
the two of us.
The two of us sitting here.
However, it might be at times.
But there might be some things that David and I want to do together that we want to talk about, because I think that's kind of where we're at right now, but where we want to be in the future as far as the kind of content that we want to be producing. I mean, we definitely want to talk about that, and we want to get your feedback too. So probably after this video premieres, you'll be able to see a poll on YouTube, just kind of throwing some ideas out there, because we want to know what you are interested in seeing and what you want more of out of the channel.
Yeah, and speaking of sort of content you want to see, changes in content, one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit today was one of the ways that we want to pivot the channel at a certain point. And I'm going to be incredibly candid right now. As if you've watched Man vs. Meeple over the years, you know, or at least you have a sense that we've built the channel largely on preview content for Kickstarters, paid content, and we're as candid and transparent as possible with that stuff. And then on the opposite side of things, when we do reviews, we want you to absolutely know those are unfiltered and unpaid and all that sort of stuff. But with that said, we want to try to pivot a little bit away from the paid previews. So it'll probably always still be a part of our channel. We are a big fan, even in the early days, of showcasing games that you may not have heard of, Now, it is a very different landscape today than it was back then.
Yeah, for sure.
Back then, we would get a preview every week or every 2 weeks. Now, we turn away probably more previews than we do. So there's a ton of previews hitting the channel, and it's great, and we still like having that there for you so that we can showcase Kickstarters so you can check them out if you hadn't heard of them. But at the same time, we want to have a little bit more critical content, and more importantly, we want to have fun content. And hopefully some of the content you've seen Ryan and I do lately on the live streams, and even a lot of the sort of even previews and unboxings.
The unboxing videos we've done.
We're just, to be quite honest, we're having a lot of fun with those. It's been a blast filming those.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Just casually joking around as we do it.
Right.
We're not going to hug right now, I promise.
No,
but it's been great to work a little bit more closely with Ryan and do a little bit more of that stuff. But I would say sometime between now and this time next year, you're going to see far more reviews, more things like potentially some unboxings, and hopefully we make those interesting.
Yeah.
I know sometimes people think of unboxings as a dirty word, like, oh, another unboxing.
I think they're fun and they're informative.
They are fun, and I promise we're not going to do them for every single game that comes out, but when we have a game that we're particularly excited about, or for instance, when we did Druganar,
it just looked cool.
Just so many boxes.
I want to show things that look cool to the audience.
Yeah,
things that I think people are interested in looking at.
When you get those big pledges that hit your doorstep that have like 8 giant boxes, it's fun. And we want to share that. So anyway, we're going to be doing a lot more fun content like that. And you'll see some of the things come back. Like some of the segments we've done in Chit Chat, maybe we'll do some player versus player
I think once we can get people back in the studio, for sure.
Yeah, once we get people back in the studio, you'll see more of that. But that's kind of where we want to take it. And reviews. In the past, I think we've done kind of an okay job to a poor job at times getting reviews up on the channel. And we just really don't want to miss out on any big game that comes across everyone's radar anymore. So we are going to put forth a significant effort, particularly between me, Ryan, and Jeremy Howard, to get reviews up for the games that you guys are caring about or interested in. It does take some time. With the way we're doing our reviews now, we do like to play them at the minimum like 3 times, maybe 5.
I'm more like 5 on my end. Which
I'll be honest, I don't know that I got 5 games in me before I want to get it out on paper and write something down.
It really depends on the game, and I think that it's very difficult to have a hard and fast. Well, you have to play this game 5 times. There are games that I've played once where I could say afterwards, I don't need or want to play this game again.
Yeah, well, sure.
For whatever various reason, but there are games that when you play it 2 or 3 times, you only really start to see the way the game plays, and it's only at like game 5 or 6 that it really kind of comes together. And so I think that the truth is just somewhere in the middle. If we demand every reviewer plays the game 10 or 15 times, that's never going to happen, unfortunately.
It's silly, and I think sometimes we can give sort of our gut reaction to a first impression too. And you'll see different types of formats. We might do deep dive reviews, but there might be times where Ryan and I are sitting like this talking about 5 games really quick for you, just to give you a sense of what we thought of them.
And one piece of content that I'm really excited about producing is just kind of bringing you guys industry news. I think that is something that there's a need for in the industry, especially now. There's just been so much uncertainty with things in the board game world as far as what's happening with conventions, what's happening with shipping around the world, what's happening with the state of games, and being able to just bring you guys news and keep you updated on the situations, I think is a valuable program.
Yeah, and speaking of which, and this is maybe a segue to actually moving to our next segment where we talk about things like news, but I did want to touch on one thing because we talked about reviews, we talked about previews, and we talked about industry news.
Yeah.
One of the things that's sort of been in the news today, sort of controversial stuff. A lot of people talking about paid content.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about integrity and reviews and things like that. And as creators of content in this category, we're constantly kind of evaluating ourselves into where we fit into that spectrum, obviously. So one of the things I wanted to stress to you guys right now, and I said it earlier, when we do paid content, we will absolutely always tell you, and we may even lean into that a little harder going forward, just so you know, when you hear what we're saying there, generally speaking, you're not going to hear us share opinions about what we're feeling. We're usually just giving you an overview of what the game is. It's a preview, not a review. Now, with that said, and truth be told, sometimes we do a preview of a game that we think is really cool.
I did a preview for Vampire the Masquerade Chapters, which
you love that.
I mean, that's probably going to end up being a Game of the Year contender for me because I played through the first couple scenarios and absolutely fell in love with the game. But at least in that case, I was able to say, hey, I'm giving you this content, but just know I love the game. If our opinions come through, I mean, that's hard to help. We're human. You know, and this
you'll just have to trust us on that front because
that we're human.
Yeah.
Please trust us.
I can speak for myself. I'm human. The jury's still out on Ryan.
That's true. Half robot.
We're both human. So I just wanted to stress that on that. And then again, like I said, on the reviews, we are never going to give a review of a game and say that it's great when we don't think that.
Yeah, we're pretty. I mean, hopefully you think that we've done a pretty good job so far, and I think that we all have. Done a pretty good job of sticking to our opinions, and just, if I don't like a game, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell, even if I got paid. Our job when we're doing previews, and I say this to people all the time, our job is not to give an opinion on the game. It's not to tell you what to think. Our job is to showcase the game. I want to show you what the game looks like. I want to tell you how the game plays. You can use that information to decide whether or not you want to play the game or not.
Yeah, and with that all said, we will make some efforts to try to make a more distinct line between our content, because I was just about to say you could look at our previews very similar to you would a how to play or a playthrough. Now those feel differently, and I know a preview feels a little closer to a review.
It's a little more produced.
And just in terms of the format, we're sitting here telling you about this game. But if you thought about our previews in that same context, that's kind of how we approach them. But like I said, with that said, we will try to draw a more distinct line between those so that you guys know when we're showcasing a game and when we're critiquing a game.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to let us know in the comments. Just give us your honest feedback on that kind of thing. I mean,
yes.
We definitely want to hear the way people are perceiving the channel, because we like to do content that we think is fun, and we like to cover games that we think are fun. I mean, we're never going to do a preview for a game that we just outright look at and say, oh, this looks awful.
Well, and we do that. I mean, just to pull back the curtain a little bit, when we select the previews we do, like I said earlier, we turn a lot away. We get the rule books, we read the rule books, and a lot of games we'll look at it and go, this is not a good fit for our channel. It doesn't look like it's the kind of game that would appeal to us.
Or our audience.
And in many cases, some of the games, I'll just say, don't look like great games either. They just don't look like they have the same sort of production value and thought put in them as the games that we do want to cover on the channel. So hopefully we've pulled back the curtain and told you kind of where we stand in all of that. The last thing I want to say on any of that is with respect to our reviews. A lot of people equate credibility to negativity at times, in my opinion. And I can tell you right now, and I don't see this ever changing for this channel as long as I'm associated with it, we are not going to be about putting out negative content.
That's a very tricky subject. I think that there's a big difference between giving negative opinions of a game or criticizing a game that you're reviewing versus just making negative content.
Yeah.
I'll talk all day about things that I don't like, even about games that I love.
Yeah, we can be critical.
Exactly.
We just don't have to be jerks about it.
It's right.
I mean, quite frankly, and we don't have to.
I agree with that.
And we don't have to dwell on it. And that's one thing that none of us have any interest in doing, is dwelling on the negative. And I know there are, not even in the board game space, but if you've been on YouTube at all, you can see that there's a lot of people that make a lot of successful channels by being negative. Well, and again, I am not
outside of the board game.
I am not talking about people in the board game industry.
How many channels have I seen that are just, I hate Disney and I hate Star Wars?
Exactly.
And I'm like, I don't understand, but they get so many views. And people have said to us before, oh, you probably get more views in a video if you said 10 things you hate or 10 board games you hate. It's like, man, I don't really want to talk about games that I hate.
No.
And I don't really want to bash on games unnecessarily. Like, if I don't like a game and it's already not doing well or it's already not being perceived well, I don't want to add to that pile on. Like, I'd rather go talk about something positive that I want to highlight, that I want to uplift.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's just our opinion. Like,
that's true.
If I don't like a game, the way I look at it is it's probably more on me than it is the game.
You know what?
The games that are produced today, most games that we talk about on this channel are produced in a way where they're quality games. There may be things about them that we don't like, that didn't land with us, but someone might love them. Now, while I've never played Twilight Imperium, I can tell you. I
can't believe that you've never played Twilight Imperium.
It's not a game that I think I'd enjoy.
Probably it's not for you. It's so conflict-driven.
I know. And so I can confidently say I would not like that game. But if I'm going to give you a review and tell you that, I don't know that that does the game any service, because obviously there's a ton of people out there who love it.
Well, see, I think that's a great segue, actually, and a great point, David, because that's why we like to do these chit chats. And that's why we like to do some of this stuff where we're just having fun, because we want you guys to get to know us. We want you to know what we like. We want you, I mean, there are people definitely in the channel. I'll see a comment, somebody says, well, this game looks like Ryan's kind of game.
Yeah.
And we're glad. Like, if you're going to respect my opinion, you need to know if my tastes line up with yours.
I mean, let's not get crazy. No one's going to respect our opinion.
I mean, that's fair. But just like what I said, knowing that David doesn't like conflict games, of course he's not going to like Twilight Imperium.
No.
And if he says, oh, I don't like Twilight Imperium, it's not because it's a bad game. It's just not David's style. And I think we want to do more of that, of just letting you guys get to know us and see us. And Jeremy Howard, of course, like he does his live streams. And I think his solo live streams are a great way to just get to know Jeremy and see his personality. And hopefully the live streams that David and I have been doing on Wednesdays, that just kind of shines through. You'll get a taste for what games we like. Also, we're about to talk about just other things that we've been doing and playing lately.
Yeah, and hopefully you don't mind that either. I know we've talked about movies and video games in the past.
Sometimes we do.
We've had some comments.
I mean, we like those things, right?
Some people out there love hearing about that. Like Ryan was just saying, they like to get to know us a little bit more. We love that. Our egos could use all of the stroking.
It's just for egos.
It is. That's really the only reason. No. But of course, there's also comments that we've had where people are like, I don't want to hear you talk about anything but board games.
True. But we do talk about 90% board games.
It will be about 90% board games.
You might get that 10%. I mean, back when the new Star Wars movies were coming out.
Well, we're going to be talking about Loki a little bit tonight.
Okay, well, Loki was fantastic. For those who didn't watch that show on Disney Plus, why? Why didn't you watch it?
Yeah, by the way, this is called a segue. We're moving over into
you got me on Loki now. I could spend an entire episode of Chit Chat just talking about Loki.
We promise we're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that, but I could.
No, I could too. Like
all the Disney Plus shows,
all the Marvel stuff,
all the Mandalorian,
like
all the games. They have been absolutely killing it.
So what we're saying is some of that stuff will be peppered in, and we're going to move on to that right now. We're going to talk about some of the games we've been playing, some of the shows we've been watching, like Loki.
We're nerds.
We can start there.
We do nerdy
We are
things.
absolutely nerds. His sweatshirt says geek.
It does. This is BGG, Board Game Geek, which we're definitely. I mean, I like to. I mean, I've been trying to wear more industry merchandise.
Yep. We promise he's not sponsored by anyone.
These were just gifts to wear to show off my love for the industry, and I'll probably do some more of that. But yeah, Loki was fantastic.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Loki, how would you describe Loki to those who are? This is kind of an interesting challenge for those who aren't like super familiar with the MCU, because obviously those familiar with the MCU are probably aware of what they were doing with the show, but for someone who isn't hardcore, how would you describe it? I would compare it to a couple different things.
I've called it the MCU's version of Doctor Who. That's what I've said.
I definitely get Doctor Who vibes, but if you don't like Doctor Who, it's not quite as out there.
Well, no, it's definitely still a Marvel property, and you definitely still have that core accessibility that comes with Marvel. I mean, it's getting to be to the Doctor Who point where it's like some episodes of Doctor Who I don't even understand, and then sort of say, well, if you watch these 6 other episodes over the past 20 years, okay, well, I mean, it's kind of getting like that, but I think Marvel does a good job making each show self-contained. I mean, I've talked to people where Loki has been their jumping on point to liking Marvel. Was like they hadn't really paid attention.
It is different. It's different.
Very different.
And that's one of the things that Marvel has done with the Disney Plus shows. Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't feel super different.
No, it felt like more Captain America.
It felt very MCU. In fact, if you haven't seen Black Widow, that show and the Black Widow movie have very similar vibes for sure. Although Black Widow felt a little Bourne.
That's what I said. I walked out of Black Widow. I was like, that was Marvel's Bourne movie. I loved it.
It was kind of like a spy movie, but more on the Bourne aspect. But anyway, WandaVision, extraordinarily different. And Loki, quite strange. I'm going to say spoiler alert right now.
Spoil it.
Well, I just want to give one detail.
Oh, no.
So if you haven't watched and you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen to the following 10 seconds. There is, here it comes, a Loki alligator in the show.
That is true.
Like a literal alligator that is a Loki variant.
Supposedly.
So my point being here is one of the things I found so fascinating about Marvel is starting with Guardians of the Galaxy, which when that came out, when it was announced, I knew nothing about the property.
Right, a lot of people did.
I wasn't a big Marvel fan that way in the comic books. And I thought to myself, okay, here we go. This is where Marvel's jumping the shark.
Right.
They got a talking raccoon and a tree. By the way, if you haven't seen that, spoiler alert, but hopefully you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy. And they pulled it off.
Oh, yeah.
And as stupid as this sounds, there's been jokes about a spin-off. Not real
really
conversations, but some of the
spin-off.
actors involved in the show have said, oh, I'd love to be a part of a buddy cop type show between me, classic Loki, and the alligator.
Like Turner
Loki.
and Hooch, but it's not Hooch, it's alligator.
I hadn't thought of that, but that's pretty funny.
So, let me segue into, so I'm a big Marvel fan, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've been doing a lot of, I haven't talked about it as much lately, but when Marvel Champions came out, I was one of the big promoters of Marvel Champions. It made it onto my Game of the Year list and Jeremy Salinas.
He plays it all the time.
I still do play it all the time. And I
Quietly,
honestly,
though. You don't ever even tell me that you've been
I
playing
don't talk a lot about it anymore because I feel like people are getting tired of hearing about it. That being said, I did film a video featuring my top 5 favorite Marvel Champions characters that I'm posting next week.
Oh, tell me what they are.
I'm not going to tell anybody now. You could watch that video and find out. But I have been playing that like crazy. The Galaxy's Most Wanted box came out, which that's what reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy. All this, it's very, very difficult. It's actually getting kind of a reputation for being very hard. I have not beaten it yet. I'm struggling against one of the bosses that I've tried several times to beat. But that's fun for me.
And I enjoyed the game when it came out. And it was my sort of onboarding to that type of game.
Yeah, like LCG
Like
style.
I had never played LCG type games, and had the property. I think it was a little more accessible too than something like Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
So I tried it. I liked it. I didn't get sucked in like the rest of you. Certainly not like you.
Oh, I have everything. I have multiples of some of this stuff.
Wow.
And I spent almost the entire weekend playing with Venom. The Venom character just came out, who is so much fun. And I get like really into Marvel Champions. I get into like deck building, like Critical Theory. I'm in several Discord.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm in a Discord community that's all about Marvel Champions deck building and like asking questions and looking at the efficiency of some of the different cards and like and I'm not even, there are entire YouTube channels that just break down all of these different Marvel Champions characters.
Why aren't you doing that on our channel?
Because it's a lot. I mean, honestly, like to stay that up to date, it's like for some people this is the game.
Yeah.
Marvel Champions is what
true.
they play.
If you're going to do content on something like that, you pretty much have to be hardcore in doing it. You can't mess around because otherwise the real fans probably wouldn't take you very seriously.
Right, and I love these channels. I go watch these channels, but they'll have multiple videos come out in a week that are just focusing on specific Marvel Champions things. I think our audience would maybe get tired after the second or third deep dive into Marvel Champions deck building strategy.
Possibly. Let us know in the comments. If you suggest we do that, maybe Ryan will just start that.
I'm more than happy to make videos introducing people to Marvel Champions and talking a little bit more specifically to our audience. I did that a little bit with Magic, where I live streamed Magic and kind of answered people's questions, and that was hit and miss. I mean, that went on for like a good 9 to 10 months. People
Magic Mondays,
Monday, people coming in on Mondays and just asking questions and kind of hopefully learning Magic. But I don't want to be a Magic channel either, even though I have been playing a lot of Magic still.
You know, a lot of people I know have been getting back into Magic.
Well, part of the reason for that was their new set that just came. Well, the 2 last sets.
Is this the D&D?
The D&D set just came out, and a lot of people are going crazy for the D&D set. For those who don't know, maybe David could put some pictures up. This is a very cool set because they've actually modeled a lot of the cards after classic Dungeons and Dragons, like book covers and classic Dungeons and Dragons monsters.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
That's just smart. I mean, that's just smart business, I think, for them to do that.
You don't play Magic, do you?
No, I've never been a big Magic
Have you ever
guy.
played Magic?
I tried Magic the Gathering?
Have you ever played a game of it?
Yes, I have played a game. But I'm one of those guys, just like with Pokemon back in the day, where I bought a starter pack and another starter pack for like my son or something, and we played.
Sure.
So I had it was a pre-made themed deck, and I get it. I like it. I like those kind of games. I don't have the dedication to be into a game hardcore like that. With that said, when you mentioned other channels, is Team Covenant doing much content on Marvel Champions
Team Covenant,
anymore?
Yeah, they still do Marvel Champions content.
So I wanted to bring up Team Covenant because they are, from what I understand, going to be doing some content for a game that we had a chance to play last week digitally. And we're going to have some content up on our channel pretty soon. This is for Earthborn Rangers.
That's an LCG as well. So that's kind of like right up their alley.
It's an LCG that feels... we didn't play a whole game of it, but we got a
demo of it, basically.
To get a demo from part of the team that's been developing it for quite some time now. And we're going to have some content, so I don't want to go too deep on the explanation. We're going to have a bit of a first look. But just to give you a sense of it, if you've played things like Arkham Horror... or Marvel Champions, really. It's
more Arkham Horror.
More Arkham Horror, but there is no sort of
Lord of the Rings, actually, probably closer to.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. More like Lord of the Rings LCG. There is no really map like you'd see in Arkham Horror of cards laid out, but there is a spatial situation going on in terms of where you are, what you're immediately presented with, and then sort of the overall location that's one step away from you. And you are basically trying to interact with things at the location in order to potentially even move on to other locations because there's this whole map scenario.
Yeah, it's very cool. It takes kind of like Lord of the Rings was very thematic of Lord of the Rings. Arkham Horror is very kind of difficult. That game is all about like just barely scraping by. What's interesting about Earthbound Rangers is
we can't say too much.
We can't say too much, but I will say that it is a more optimistic tone.
Oh, for sure. And they've already said that. Andrew was on an episode of Chit Chat some time ago. Thematically, if you've ever seen Sweet Tooth on Netflix, thematically, it feels like that world to me. It feels like it's a
great show, by the way.
A very natural post-apocalyptic situation.
All right, so I do have one more thing I want to say about what I've been up to lately before we pass it over to you so you could talk about stuff. This caught me completely by surprise, but I've been like becoming way more into train games. Like, I know that this is... I've never really, like, played train games. Are we
talking, like, Ticket to Ride?
So we're talking, like, 18xx style.
Oh, really?
So, like, it started with City of Big Shoulders, which is not a train game, but it is a stock game.
Sure.
And understanding how that stock market works, I've played City of the Big Shoulders several games, and I've really enjoyed it. But that understanding of the stock market is so prevalent in train games. And I went out and got Iron Dragon. We played Railways of the World, and then I got into Age of Steam, which is a very difficult game, like not to play, but like to master. Mm-hmm. Like you can just get smoked in that game. And so we're actually scheduling, I've never played an 18xx game, but I'm about to. We have one lined up that's supposed to be kind of a beginner. I think it's 1846. So I'm excited. I'll have that to report next time we meet.
So speaking of...
This is new for me.
This is a different sort of thing. And it's not something I've been doing, but it's been something I've been considering doing. And it's maybe along these lines, but you're familiar with coin games?
Yeah, definitely.
So I've never played. Have you ever played one?
I've never played a coin game.
I've never played one.
They're like all like bits, and they're usually like war themed, right? Like a lot of the different wars represented in them.
Wars and just sort of conflicts, for sure. Historical conflict.
Which is weird from you because you don't love conflict.
No, but here's why. So Rodney of Watch It Played has gone down the rabbit hole of coin. I mean, seriously.
It's easy to do. There's so many
He's hardcore on coin games right now, which if you've watched his channel, you absolutely know that he's mentioned it in some of, not of course his how to plays, but some of the other videos, content that they've put up. And he's been, I will say, pressuring me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been saying, hey man, you gotta get, like, if you talk to him casually in any way, shape, or form. It comes up. And if it comes up, you better nip it in the bud and stop him because he'll go on and talk about it for quite some time. But
they're interesting games.
I want to say it's Cuba Libre.
Oh, that's probably one of the more famous ones.
That's the big one, but you can't get it right now.
Right.
So I wasn't familiar with this, but what's the game company? GMT?
Yeah, well, GMT does a lot of them.
And they do a ton of them.
I don't know if they're the only ones, but...
In fact, Rodney, from what I understand, currently has 3 ongoing games of 3 different Cuba Libre and a couple others with some of our friends virtually. They all have the boards set up on their on tables.
That seems like a lot to remember.
They take turns, and when the next person takes their turn, they adjust their board to reflect
like a play-by-post kind of
It
thing.
is basically a play-by-post, and they have and he basically said he would teach me how to play if I was able to get a copy of one of these things. So
I'm surprised they're not virtual, or like they don't have them up on like.
They don't. But GMT, I wasn't aware of this. GMT has this cool thing. I want to say it's called P500. Does that ring a bell?
The name rings a bell.
So they have this system on their site where if a game is out of print, they have this thing. I think it's called P500. If I'm getting that wrong, I apologize. But you can basically go into their site and say, I would like this game. And as soon as 500 people have said that, you're effectively ordering it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And as soon as 500 people have done that or something like that, boom, it triggers a reprint and those people get it.
That's a really smart way to handle reprints.
Yeah.
Because you have to know a lot of those games are so obscure, you really need to know the audience
right,
is going to
you can't print a lot of those.
Right. That's really neat.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about doing that. Other than that, in terms of games I've been playing, I haven't, to be completely candid, haven't had a lot of time to play things other than a lot of the things we've been playing for the channel.
Well, we've been playing a lot for the channel lately.
We have. One of the things, and we've had a couple pieces of content. We did an unboxing of it. We actually hosted their trailer, but we had, we're going to be doing a Divinus preview coming up very soon next week. And we're going to be doing a live play of the second scenario.
Yeah, so we're basically going to cover both the first and second scenarios for Divinus, which I'm really excited about because this game hits a lot of really, really solid notes for me.
It does, me too. I will talk about this in our preview.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the preview.
But I will just say this one game comparison that when I read the rule book, I said, this feels a little like My City. Mm-hmm. And I think we said this during the unboxing.
Which I loved My City.
And the publisher, our contact at the publisher said, yeah, that's a great way to look at it. But after playing the first scenario, and I mock played it with my wife, and then Ryan and I played it with a friend of ours, Emily, the other night, and actually did all the actual stickering and stuff like that.
It's fun.
And I mean, that's always fun when you're stickering stuff and you're interacting with an app and there's storylines going on, and I'm like making decisions for the people of the land and stuff like that. So look for that. So we played that, and I've kind of, like I said, played it a couple times. And then the other thing we played, we just played Juicy Fruits today on the live stream. Yeah. And I'd played it 2 other times. One other time, kind of 1.5 other times, to be honest. And that's a really fun little game. It's one of Capstone's family weight games, and it kind of feels like an app game because you're moving these little tokens around a grid on your player board to acquire fruit. And then it's fairly simple and straightforward. Then you're using that fruit to do a few different things. You can fulfill contracts on these boats that are around your player board for points. You can buy new business tiles that actually go on your player board, some of which kind of clog it up so it's harder to move things along, some of which are actually just better versions of the tokens you had. And then lastly, there's kind of an advanced mode for sort of the family plus weight where you have this juice factory, which is at the end of your turn. You can, if you want, spend some of your leftover fruits, if you have the right ones, to move up the juice factory. I am not going to spoil our live stream.
Yeah, watch it.
Because you should
watch
it.
The live stream. It was fun. We had a good time.
I will spoil this. One of us won.
Well, that's quite the spoiler.
One of us won.
We also made a lot of fruit, if you're going to throw some spoilers out there.
It was a very juicy experience.
No, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad that we did that one.
It's a fun little game. Check out our live stream if you want to learn more about that.
Yeah, and of course, check out our live stream every Wednesday. We'll be playing something new. We're also doing giveaways there. So if you just watch Chit Chat and you don't want to watch our Wednesdays, go over there because you could be entered to win twice because give away Chit Chat games and live stream games.
Yeah, we're just giving away games left and right.
We might even just be giving away channel games. That's something we talked about too, just randomly. So just watch the channel.
Yeah,
we'll talk about these opportunities.
If people don't mind getting our games from our library, we've got an enormous library of games that we'll probably never get around to playing all of them over and over and over again.
No way.
So
we might as well give them away to people.
We'll figure out a way to put them in the hands of people who want to get them played.
For sure.
Well, that was sort of our state of the channel.
What we've been up to.
What we've been up to. If you have any questions about anything we said, and I mean anything, we will try to answer them
sure.
in the comments below and be as candid and open as we can. Make sure and comment below, regardless of whether you want answers to anything, for a chance to win. What did we say that we were going to give away?
We're giving away the big game night, AEG's big game night tonight.
10 and Whirling Witchcraft. So
fun time.
Until episode 85, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then. Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.